Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Whenever you listen to this wonderful podcast, welcome to the Wolves Fancast review show. First review of the season to talk about, well, what is rather a slow start to the season and a stereotypical way for Wolverhampton Wanderers with a 4-0 defeat to Manchester City. We're in association with the Sports Social Podcast Network, fcquiz.app, and the Boston Coffee Company. Joining me to talk about what is quite a normal defeat in the first game of the season is Stu and Luke. Stu, I know you were there. You were watching yesterday. Got back from your little trip. How was it to be back at Molineux?
It felt like it had been ages and ages. I don't know if it was because like the last season just petered out into nothingness and everyone was just kind of going there out of obligation because we'd paid for it anyway. But it felt weird being there. It felt like it had been a year, honestly, that we hadn't been there for anything meaningful. And then obviously I rushed back as I did and had some road beers watching Wrexham on my tablet. Got back in plenty of time for a few more, and then and obviously some fools had ruined all the surprise with the TIFO that's behind Luke's image there the night before, which was annoying. And people can't behave themselves and just no, we don't need clout for this reason. Just shout them out now. So that was a bit annoying. But in a way, it kind of softened the blow a bit because if I hadn't seen that thing before and obviously knowing it was pretty big and where it was coming from, and that Kieran did an amazing job sourcing all this, that I probably would have been even more broken than I was at the time because I had my Comedy Wolves bucket hat on, and before kickoff, that had to come off to actually wipe the tears from my face. It was something else altogether.
I totally agree. It was a very moving the whole thing that was put together, and fantastically, so much so by OGP Luke. I mean, to honour somebody who played a special part in our lives as Wolves fans is beautiful, and to do it in such a glorious and extravagant way in parts to design and have this wonderful message in this song that was his favourite. It was lovely to see.
Yeah, I think it was a great tribute to Jota. And fair play to the lads at OGP because that must have took some going to get all that organised. And it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It looked great. It felt great. It's just so tragic that we're having to do this in the first place. Like it feels like that we shouldn't be having to do it, but here we are. But for me, it was just a beautiful tribute to an amazing person.
Yeah, and it's not surprising, is it, Stu, that they're able to put something on so powerful and moving because they've got a reputation for, as you say, Kieran has done stuff before for the club, and the messages that are put out there, they're always done within really, really good taste, and they're done with the ability to put a proper meaning across and really convey the feelings of the fans and the players on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been kind of skeptical about this whole TIFO thing and flags and what difference does it make and whatever. But if people enjoy it, then fair enough. It's not hurting anyone. But without that build-up, that wouldn't have been possible yesterday. So I take back absolutely everything I ever said about it all because that was knowing it was coming, but seeing it in the flesh was something else. And the song, which has completely blown up as well, all day today, all over Twitter, people saying let's just keep that song as our song now. And we know we've heard things that have been said about this. I 100% agree. It was because it was. I don't know how it came across on telly. It was silence. Like people just stood there, didn't sing along. Obviously, no one's going to sing along for the first time. Other than people over a certain age have even heard of it before. But for someone of Jota's age to pick that song as his favourite, and then for him to put that clip into the montage that they put up last night as well, it was pretty special, and just everything about it was just very well done. And you think when things like this happen, which is thankfully hardly ever, they do get it right. I like the collaboration with the third shirt, which we might talk about later. I don't know, but getting Ben Moira on the side to do that as well, like the little things, they do the little things really, really well. And then you get something like this where it's got to. And there was a statement earlier saying that it wasn't just Wolves fans helping out with this; it was other fans doing it as well to help out in the organisation and getting the ropes on the roof and all this kind of thing. Everyone chipped in, and it all worked perfectly. And the club have got to be, for once, they've got to be commended for letting everyone do this, because, yeah, they put the money that wasn't raised, which I don't know what the breakdown was, where they said that they were going to put some money towards it to pay up the total cost. Who knows what they actually did, but to let it happen at all, to allow all this to happen, it's just classy. And it just makes you even more frustrated that, like, what Gully got slandered and slaughtered for on Twitter, for rightfully pointing out, in my point, that this it was almost a mourning of, yeah, it was Jota, but it was a mourning of what we had in that era as well. And then you look at it and you think, well, obviously that's not the reason, but it's the secondary reason behind it, thinking we ain't getting this again. And this was the last bit of specialness in our lives, and certainly for people 30, 40 years older than us are probably ever going to see now. And yet they can still, everyone can bring everything together for something like this. It's not that hard, just a little bit of effort. That's all we want. That's all we care about, really. Off the pitch yesterday was perfect. 10 out of 10.
I'd like to see TIFOs at every home game, if I'm being honest. Obviously, logistically and financially, it might not be able to happen, but I think it would be really good just to have that effect before each game, because I felt like, and it was hard to judge because obviously you had the tribute for Jota and first game of the season and all that, but I felt like that TIFO, it got the crowd going a little bit as well at the start of the game. And for us to have a good chance of survival this season, we need that passionate fan base back. We need that horrible Molyneux where it's just loud and, you know, everyone's in sync. We're calling for everything. And I think the TIFOs can play a part with that. And, you know, I'm the generation of liquidator, high silver lining, but if Field of Gold was to come in, I ain't going to complain too much, because it feels like, it, for me, it's got more meaning than
it does.
The others. Even though, you know, the others are great songs, aren't they? Let's just play them all. Why can't we just play them all? Like, why are we saying, oh, let's have one and not the other? Let's just play them all. It's like, literally, we can, to a degree, play whatever we want pre-match. Let's just play them all.
Yeah. I think you're right.
What's going to happen if Wolves play the Liquidator?
Nothing, really. But you are right, and I think this is normally, for in other walks of life, times like this really separate different types of people. And I think when you get something that is so traumatic and so devastating, to kind of rally together behind it and to use it as a way to push everyone forward in celebrating, especially the life of Diogo and his brother, but also those that we've had in the past, those players, you know, the Raul Jimenez's who were here and who've done like incredible things, Ruben Neves, Joao Moutinho, just from the Fosun era. We don't celebrate them enough really at Wolves as fans, and I don't think we use our recent history to push ourselves forward and to celebrate everything, because I think if we focused on everything good that we'd had, we could potentially put that energy into pushing us forward. And I think we should see more of the TIFOs, but also as we said on the preview show, like the murals and stuff, seeing more of that around the city and actually celebrate what we've achieved as a club. And I think giving that little bit of pride might help us push forward.
Yeah.
I agree. I just feel like Jeff's just killed the atoms around the city.
Yeah.
Impacted on the energy.
I hope we can get it back. I do. I really do.
I thought it was gone forever, and like what Luke said about it yesterday, and a good thing in the comments there about getting people in the ground early. It worked yesterday. If you're going to get that realistically every week, I don't know. But as it showed in the last 15, 20 minutes, I mean, after they scored their fourth, I don't know what happened in the game because I wasn't paying any attention after that. So I'm guessing nothing happened because I didn't even shout on Match Today or talk about it, but it was all about that song. And yeah, 80% of the ground had upped and left, which kind of sums the state of the club up at the minute. But the ones who stayed, everyone in every stand was just singing along.
Yeah.
Not even like my mom, who's been there this whole time, didn't know what Gdansk even was, which was funny enough, for that Jota song. And you think, I should, oh yeah, that's where it was going to be played. Yes, of course it was. And she's like, oh, I haven't heard this for a long time. I'm like, no, exactly. This is the point. We haven't had anything to celebrate since he left. No one's took this club by the horns like Jota did. And like you said about Neves being there with Jota's wife and his parents, and everything about it was just a throwback to that time. And it's one of them things where I thought it was gone, but that atmosphere yesterday showed that it's not. And there's, and it might be clinging on to the very fibre of being that's left of the people who refuse to leave and refuse to be replaced by Jeff's evil crowd. But that heart and soul of Wolves is still there. It's just waiting for something to happen.
That heart and soul of Wolves will never go. Like
it won't go in Molineux, not.
I think even in the Molineux, it still can be embedded in you. We just need, it's just that connection. You know, I looked at it as two connections. You've got the connection between the fans and the team, and the connection between the fans and the club. For me, at the minute, both relationships are quite fractured. But if we can fix that and get that stronger bond between the players that are playing for us week in, week out, and the fans, we can get that back, that feeling.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the game yesterday, it seemed like it was as well. Like all the bollocks of all the summer, and I know Maximus Wright's saying it there about doubling down on negativity. I'm guessing that's aimed at me, and rightfully so, because on Twitter that's all I've been doing for the last 6 months. But there's a massive difference there between hating this fucking club and the people who run it and the team. Because even though we'll get onto that in the game in a minute, but even though the players who were there are nowhere near as good as what we've had in the past, one thing about yesterday, not one of them didn't try. And that's, like I said, that's all you can ask. And I applauded at the end. Yeah, I was pissed off, but I applauded them at the end because they deserve to be applauded off. It's not their fault that they're not good enough. But but you are right, though. It was starting to bleed into one or the other. But yesterday, I think, kind of reaffirmed that as well. Because Vita didn't get any abuse yesterday. I mean, there was the weird thing with Sasha, which was obviously nipped in the bud straight away from what happened in the family enclosure, which is ridiculous. But other than that, I don't hear any abuse of individual players yesterday, which was a good sign.
Yeah, and it's going to be needed. And, you know, looking at us yesterday, I think you're spot on. Like the work rate, you can't question. And when you look at us as a team now, like our whole profile's changed. We're quite a big team now, aren't we? Quite physical. And it would be nice if we can just, and I think we can, just get a little bit of that shithousery about us. And, you know, those teams that nobody likes to play against, and they're not great, but they're just going to kick you all over the pitch. They're going to hold their faces and roll around if they're getting touched. You know, they're just going to bring the dark arts back a little bit, just to try and close that gap in quality with the other teams. And I think as a fan base, we could get behind that.
Yeah, the underdogs.
Yeah.
And I think Wolves have always performed better when they've had that underdog status.
Yeah,
I agree. Always suited us more. Whenever we're like favourites, I think we've obviously we haven't always struggled, but you know, those years in the Championship when we just, Division 1 at the time, when we just couldn't get out of it, I just feel there's too much pressure on us as favourites, and as a club, we just always seem to struggle to handle that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the best times for us in recent years under Nuno, especially, came when we were that counter-attacking side. You know, we were going into every game as essentially the underdogs, but we never gave up. And 90 minutes was everything to us. And, you know, between the 75th and the 90th minute, you look how many goals we scored, especially match-winning goals we scored. It's huge. And I like it. We've got to over 15 minutes. We only talked about the game. It's insane. It's magical. I mean, we probably should start. I mean, if we come to you on it, Stu, I mean, for those watching on YouTube, there's a little graphic on there with the starting lineups. I think he went a little bit safe yesterday, Stu, with Bellegarde and Menezes. I mean, he could have gone with Arias, he could have gone with Fer Lopez, but he seemed to pick his tried and tested two inside forwards. Well, Marshall Menezes, whatever you want to call him, footballer or not. I know he gets a lot of abuse. God in your case, but especially, you know, a tried and tested method. Do you think that Vito was justified in doing something that was potentially a little bit more negative, I guess?
I think he was justified in the fact that he's got no real choice, because you look at the other options there. You mentioned Fer Lopez and Arias. They've not really done anything in pre-season to warrant playing yet. And yeah, they might have talent and they've looked decent, especially, I mean, obviously Arias coming off the back of being in the team of the Club World Cup, and he was excellent in it. But again, he's played all year in the Brazilian league. He's going to take time. He's going to need bedded in. I think that made sense. For Lopez, he looks tidy, he looks tricky, and he looks like he's got something about him, but he's yet to convince me that he's ready for the Premier League. And so against a team like Man City, who even on the bad day, a league's above us at the minute, I think it made perfect sense, really. I think you start with that and you change it on 60, and if things need to be done. Hoover is unfortunate, I guess, that it's not his fault he's here, and that he's the only one left. And you got the whole thing with Rodrigo Gomez, who Vitor Pereira obviously doesn't fancy at right wing back, and it's just never going to happen for him there. And obviously we saw the absolute nightmare that Hugo Buenas had in pre-season. So Wolves going to have to play. So I wasn't really shocked at anything. And I thought, well, okay, fair enough. We go with what we've got.
Yeah. Do you echo the same sentiments, Luke? Because, I mean, looking at it, I genuinely thought Fer Lopez might stand a chance of playing in that game over Jean-Marie Bellegarde, just because the fact that he has featured as much as he did in pre-season, and he looks useful. I mean, yeah, as Stu said, maybe he's not quite ready for the Premier League, and he's a bit of a rough diamond, but the lad's got talent, surely.
Yeah, I mean, the brief glimpses I've caught of him in pre-season, he looks... If anyone's going to sort of open the door of the opposition back four, I think he's going to be the one. He looks creative. He seems to travel with the ball quite well. Not scared to get a shot off in and around the edge of the box as well. But it's Man City. I mean, you just look at their team. You look at the players that they've brought off the bench. You look at the extra time they've had to purchase players over the summer. You just think, what's the point? There's literally no point. You know, because the advantages that these top six have been given over the rest, it's just sort of laughable now. But, you know, it's still 11 men v 11 men, and anything can happen on the day. So he's still giving a go, like, but I've got no issue with him sort of playing it safe. You're playing against one of the best teams in the world. We're struggling. We're in really poor form if you include pre-season, the back end of last season. Let's just try and keep it under 5 if we can, and not damage the goal difference too much, and move on to the next one. You know, our season's not going to be defined by yesterday's result, is it? So let's just move on to Bournemouth.
Yeah, you are right. And I think it was always going to be a bit of an acid test, especially for those new players coming in like Wolf. And he hadn't had that many minutes with his side, and he's got to come in and adapt to a Premier League situation against the one who arguably might be the toughest team and the best team in this division this year. They've spent very, very well, and some of the players they brought in, Reinders especially, looks like he could be the best player in this league going into the season.
Ridiculous, yes.
What is it with Manchester City central midfielders coming to Molineux and just having the time of their lives?
Yeah. De Bruyne, he might as well have had the keys to the City when he was playing.
Yeah, that Reinders, whatever his name is, he looks really freaking good. He does.
But the key for me, looking at the game, was not so much our defensive side. I mean, Agbadou, I want to talk about a little bit later, but from an attacking point of view, we were all a little bit concerned. Obviously, Matthias Cunha left. Pablo Sarabia is now gone. A few of the other attacking options have left, Guedes as well. And the question I want to put to you, Stu, is where will our goals come from? Because yesterday, I know it's Man City, but we had 0 big chances. We didn't really create a lot. Is the pressure all going to come on JSL this season, or do we feel like he's going to have help from elsewhere?
I mean, the pressure was on him last season, and this is how it started, didn't it? He was starved. He can't do everything all the time on his own, and he was starved of the ball. And you look at yesterday, and the best chances that we had came to Menezes, and yeah, fair enough. He converted it brilliantly, and but we always used to moan about. Well, I always used to moan about a certain number 37 getting in the positions and cocking it up. He got in the position, but slightly wrongly, and didn't cock it up. So we still can't have nice things, can we? And when you look at it, you think, well, if Menezes is the only one getting on the end of crosses like that, then we are in a bit of trouble here, because we're supposed to have had this team built. I know certain tacticos are going to disagree that this team is built on wing backs. It has been built on wing backs. Just because they were great wing backs and now they're not here doesn't mean that we can then change because we've got 2 defensive midfielders in the middle. That's not going to change. You know, he's not going to move one out and he's not going to drop one of them. So, and we haven't got any money, or well, we have got money they won't spend it on someone like, or give a free transfer to someone like Josh Brownhill, who wouldn't be sexy and people wouldn't like, but he scored 18 goals in the Championship from midfield last season. So, what are you going to do? He's free and he's English, for fuck's sake. I don't know what's going on there. If you want something from midfield, just go and get the guy. It's not hard. But you look at it and you think, okay, if we're playing on last season, we're playing with Vita's system, it's going to be wing backs. Molly Wolf yesterday was pretty bad. And I'm not going to shame him out because it was his first competitive game in England. Like you said, he hasn't had the best or any pre-season really to get up to speed. So that's going to take time. But he was better than Hugo Bueno. And like I said in the group chat earlier, if that was Matt Doherty putting that performance in, he would have been absolutely destroyed for 24 hours because it was bad. Yeah. And then you look at the other option, and hopefully Jackson. I'm not even going to start that one. I can't say. I'm not going to try. So if Jackson T comes in, he can't be any worse going forward than Keanu Hoover, can he? And we've got the double-edged sword of, obviously, Rodrigo's better going forward than him, but he doesn't trust him defensively. So you play one or the other, and he's never going to play Rodrigo. Hoover is not the answer in this team. So we look, all the cards are on Jackson. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So when you look at where the goal's coming from, if we do go with our strongest team on paper with John Arias and Fer Lopez, maybe them. But again, you're looking at that's 3-4 weeks down the line. So yet again, August and the start of September sacrificed for a few million saved on the wages for a few weeks, which is what it seems to be every year. But we really are clutching at straws again. And it's the 17th of August.
Yeah, I agree on most points. And I think what we've seen from certain people talking about wanting to play through the middle, I think you echoed that earlier, Luke, when you said about having people who could create opportunities and create space and unlock defenses. And I think there has to be some kind of link to JSL, doesn't there? And Manetzi isn't quite like that, is he? He isn't quite right for that role. And it's important that the guys who come in can sort of link up and create this sort of fluid motion and partnership between themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think for us to survive this season, we need to be aiming for 45 goals. So when you then look at the squad, and you're like, well, where are these 45 goals going to come from? Is Strand Larsen going to get you 20? Nah. Is he going to get you 15? Yeah, I think he will. So now we're still chasing 30 goals. Is Manetzi going to pop up with 8 or 10? No. Could Arias pop up with 10? Yeah, possibly. So we still need 20 goals. But where are the rest of the 20 goals coming from in that team? Who else is going to get more than 5? Could Lopez pop up with 5? Possibly. So what we're on now, 15 goals split between Doherty, Herva, Wolf, Agbadou, Totti, Andre, and João Gomez. Oh, and Bellegarde as well. But with let's include Sasa and Matheus Mane and whoever else you want to include. I still think we're short, and that's the concern. However, Vitor is known for his defensive qualities within his team and keeping things tight. So, do we just become that shithouse, horrible team to watch where 90% of our games are 1-0, 0-1, 1-1, 1-2? And we can then maybe get away with scoring 38 to 40 goals, maybe, to survive. So that's my concern, is just exactly where are our goals going to come from, because it's not just the act of putting the ball in the back of the net. Where is the creativity going to come from? You know, Manetzi is not going to. So you're going to need at least one player to be in double digits for assists. So neither of them wing backs are getting 10 plus assists this season. Manetzi ain't. As good as Andre and João Gomez are, then I don't think they'd even get 10 assists between them, unfortunately, because it's just not their game. Then what? Bellegarde, Arias, Lopez, 15, 20 assists between them three. I don't know. It's where is the creativity coming from?
I mean, Jeff's begging for Fabio to stay, isn't he? And a guy who scored 4 goals in Scotland, by the way, to save our season.
It's not like you to rewrite history, is it, Stu, and talk about only Scotland season and not the Spanish one?
Well, I'm
only joking.
We can bring William Jose into the conversation with his Spanish goals.
Oh no! Don't sully this review show with William Jose.
William Jose was a box-to-box predator in La Liga. Did fuck all here. So La Liga is not he's not the benchmark of British.
I'll tell you who we've left out there. Completely left him out. Is where the other 15 goals and assists, Sam. Fucking Wangi Chan.
Probably.
Yeah.
To be fair, if he got back to his pre-Klinsmann ruining days, he'd get you 10.
Yeah, probably would, to be fair. You probably would.
I do wish we'd see sort of that level of player that we saw before the Asian Cup, because he was a very, very good player.
From a tactical point of view, and Gully will probably rip me to shreds here, but could we just make that a slight tweak where it's more like a 3-4-1-2? So we've got, say, Arias sitting in the hole in front of
that's what I'd like.
Andre and Gomez, and then you've got Strand Larsen with Hwang, Sasa, Matheus Mane, Fabio Silva, and Manetzi as options. Because I don't think Manetzi would be bad as a second striker.
No, he wouldn't, because he can do less damage there.
Yeah,
and me to be fair, me and Gully did talk about this on Twitter over the summer, and it is, you look at the squad and it's got its merits, but again, you're looking at width there, and we haven't got it. We haven't got it in the wing backs because Again, they're key.
How good would it be, though? Well, again, Gully or Def, I'll kill me for this. Strand Larson and Manetzi up top. Agbadou, every single goal kick, just launching 25 yards.
Oh,
Win the flick on, pick up the second, see you later.
I'm looking for my tissue. Oh, it is.
Sean Dodd should be well happy there. Yeah, now.
You've got to play to your strengths, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. You look at Gary Neville made a point on the commentary earlier that you said it was quite funny because he said it and then the immediate opposite thing happened where he was saying about free kicks being launched into the box again. That, yeah, but nature's healing. We're getting back to normal things again rather than pissing about. And like, what team was that yesterday that you tagged me in? Who did another? Was it Wickham?
Wickham, yeah.
It was Wickham again. This week's jokers trying to play it from the back, and the keeper just having a mare. But these things are. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. If it's effective, it doesn't matter. And like you had Calafiore taking a long throw today after 2 minutes. Great. If you've got the weapons, use them.
Yeah,
and my point, just to respond to David Hopper there in the comments about Jota and Raul having a bad record in Spain, that was what my point was, that some certain players are better in England and British football than they are abroad and vice versa. So, again, look at Hernan Crespo, shit at Chelsea, amazing everywhere else. Same as Veron, like the Premier League is just different.
Shevchenko, he wasn't great in the Prem, was he, Shevchenko?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
really. No, he wasn't great.
Or any striker West Ham have ever signed.
I think they've got there. You know, I know it's early doors, but I think they might actually be in the worst position than us.
I would be worried, and Brentford as well. I saw them today, and I thought I'd be worried if I was a Brentford fan. I don't normally like to bash on players, but I think that we need to sort of discuss a certain individual from his performance yesterday and through pre-season. And a little new feature that I want to bring in when I'm on, player to watch from a game for this season on the review. And those on YouTube can see a little graphic. Some of the stats yesterday for Emmanuel Agbadou. Stu, he's not been very good during pre-season. He just looked off it, and then yesterday he looked like the shadow of his former self. I mean, the stats on the screen there is the error leading to goal. He's lost possession 12 times. This doesn't seem like the same player.
Yeah, he was the weak link in defence yesterday, and he put unnecessary pressure on Doherty and Totti yesterday as well, and pissing about too much. And he got away with that a lot last season because if he did do it, he'd make up for it straight away. He looks lethargic. It looks like because he's got no competition, he knows he can't be dropped. And I don't want to say this is what he's. Who knows? He seems like a great guy. He doesn't seem the type to kind of be like that. But he's always been kind of lethargic, and he's always been a bit of a happy chappy, and he's not taking everything too super seriously. But certain people got slammed, absolutely destroyed on Twitter yesterday about pointing this out, and he's been bad. Like you said, he's been bad all pre-season, and pre-season's not the be-all and end-all. But when that form carries on into the season itself, and yet it was Man City, you'd think if concentration's been his issue, as it has been over the last 2 months, that would be absolutely spot on because he's going to be battered all game. He's going to be busy, so he can't switch off. And yet yesterday, he seemed like his mind was elsewhere. And I don't know if that's transfer talk. I doubt it, really. Or whatever's going on with him. But I think you summed it up perfectly there, saying he's not the same player at all. And it comes to the stage where you think, would it be better if Doherty's in the middle and we're playing Santi? And that's your back three? Because at the minute, if we go to Bournemouth and he plays like that again, that's the option you're going to have to take because you can't play someone who's performing that badly, and yet it's one game, so we'll see. But if it carries on, you're going to have to look at it. And that's a worry because he's one of the players that we were talking about captaincy and you build the side around, and he just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, that's scary to me. I mean, the fact that he was literally a leader. He was like the other 14 Van Dijk for some people. And, you know, I'm probably one of those people as well. I thought he was incredible, probably one of the best outside of the top six. Looking at it and looking at his performance yesterday, Luke, do you think it's potentially an injury? Do you think it's potentially his mind's elsewhere? Maybe he's looking at the situation at Crystal Palace, thinking, okay, maybe the lad's going to Liverpool, the defender there, he could get a chance to move to a club that's just won a trophy and that's in Europe.
Well, I think if he's looking to move already, then he's a bit of a cheeky twat. He's only been here for 6 months. Jesus Christ, mate! Relax yourself a little bit. I just think it's just a run of poor form, which players go through, and yeah, I'm not really reading too much into it. I genuinely just think it's just a little patch of poor form, and he'll be back on it before we know it.
Yeah, I really hope so. He's somebody who's key to our success, and I think when he was brought in January, he was one of the main reasons that how we steadied that ship. And I think Luke talked about it earlier, Stu, that defensive rigidity is what Vitor Pereira is about, and that strength. And he was a big part of it, wasn't he? And getting him back to form is going to be key to us not only surviving again, but actually trying to build on what we achieved last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of some hinted at by what I just said about what the other options are if he's not there. And we've known, I mean, Vita said himself, the club have known he wants 3-4 players. I'm guessing everyone thinking, well, yeah, maybe left centre back's the one, because other than Totti, there is no one naturally there. I know Doc played there in pre-season because, of course, he did. Why not? He's somewhere else for him to play. But we are kind of short there, and you are, unless you put Hugo Winter there. I mean, that's stranger things have happened, and it wouldn't surprise me if that happens at some point this season. But maybe it is someone else, someone who can cover left centre back and the middle, because if we've got 16 days left, 15 days left of the window now, and you're pivoting on someone like that, and obviously we've got Mosquera, but can we rely on him? Can he rely on himself?
I cannot wait for him to get in the team.
And I love him from it. Not the fact that he's chaotic, but
he's just mental.
Before he got injured, he was great as well. He was really good. He was playing really well, and it was just unfortunate that his body broke down again. But can you rely on someone like that? I don't know.
That's the problem, ain't it?
For both reasons, yeah. Like, so he's got to now bring a centre half in, as well as a central midfielder, as well as a second striker, as well as probably a wing back. If Jackson T doesn't get over the line, it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a picture of Jackson T. He was at the ground yesterday, so I mean that should be pretty much done. But I think Stu linked in quite well to what I wanted to talk about now, Luke, and I've asked everyone who I spoke to in sort of the preview and over the last couple of weeks who's been on the show is where do we improve? And obviously we bought players in, we bought good players in John Arias and Fair Lopez, and I think that'll be great. And hopefully Wolf and Jackson T or Tito Jackson, somebody said in the comments, which I thought was incredible. But they're over the line pretty much. So where do we add into this squad to get us up to where we need to be?
2 wing backs for a start. Jesus Christ. We've got to add somebody in the middle of the park, maybe even 2, because injuries and suspensions to either of those 2, and I think we're in a bit of hot water. So we need somebody in the middle who is a bit more creative than Gomez and Andre. A centre half, because obviously we're going to lose Agbadou in Jan for the AFCON. So regardless, we're going to need a new centre half. And then where else do I think we need? A backup goalkeeper. And I think we're going to need another striker, because Fabio don't play for us. Sasa, again, are his knees going to hold out? And Wang Swang. don't want to then be relying on Hwang if anything was to happen to Strand Larsen in regards to injury or suspension.
Yeah, I think you're bang on, and I think everyone in the comments as well there who were talking about it, Maximus Wright especially agreeing with you on that, and I think the sentiments are there that we have significantly weakened ourselves in the centre of the park, which was an area that you talked about. I mean, Tommy Doyle, he's a good player. He's obviously not up to the same level as Andre and Joe Gomez, but he is a serviceable Premier League player. He's now at Birmingham. You're talking about Boubacar Traore as well. Obviously, he's had his issues in the past in terms of injuries and being out the side. But to see him when he's played well, he's done well for the side, and he's back at Metz. We seem to have shot ourselves in the foot in that position, don't we, Stu? Because we had a wealth of talent there last season. Now we really are bare bones. And as Luke says, if we get suspensions or injuries, we could be staring down the barrel of the gun in terms of that area of the pitch.
Well, we know what they'll do. Backup central midfield is Bellegarde and Manetzi. That is what it is. Yeah. And
it's the same as when we was relying on Neves and Moutinho week in, week out, and we never really had much backup for them.
Yeah, and we got away with it. New. And you look at the other one in the equation, then Duncan, before anyone even starts, no. He got into the siding at Christmas because we needed a bit more solidity in the middle. And that was the only time he got to play because them two never got injured. And you're relying on the same thing happening again now with two very different midfielders.
Who will definitely get suspended.
In a different era with VAR and its weirdness and its bias, that they are going to get suspended if not injured. I mean, Andre went down twice yesterday as it is. And you are, like you said, you shot yourself in the foot. So I think the understatement, it's walking a tightrope of madness again. And you just, there's no words left for them, is there really? This was at the start. You look at that and you look at someone put it up yesterday. You compare the side who started the season against Everton that year, first year back, compared to the one yesterday. And that side would have beat yesterday's side about 6-0 itself. And it's criminal, really, what's happened. And it's no fault of the players on the pitch yesterday. It's no fault of theirs. They're not getting any stick from me in terms of effort, like we said. But and I saw I got his usual abuse yesterday online. And looking back, maybe Haaland's second. He got beat for pace there. But the game was already done by then. And I thought his handling and his distribution yesterday was actually really good. And that's been his biggest downside. So I think goalkeeper-wise, I mean, I've mentioned Sam Tickle at Wigan for years. No one listens until he goes somewhere like Brentford or Bournemouth, and he'll be a superstar. We just don't. Yeah, we just don't plan. We don't plan properly. Like, you look at other clubs like Palace are already been linked with players who are going to be replacing Eze when he goes. Like, with things that we were supposed to do in the past, and now it's we'll just react when things go wrong. It's
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You look at yesterday. I know Ed said that he's never been more deflated after yesterday, and you look at the goals were, like we said about Agbadou, individual errors and touch of class from them. But what are you going to do? It's Man City. And I think there's a reason we went about 15 minutes without even touching on the game, because there's nothing to really say other than they didn't need to get out of first gear and they battered us again.
Yeah.
Whereas 3-4 years ago, that would never have been the case. They had to go full pelt at us and they hated it. They hated coming here, and now it's a free shot.
Yeah. I mean, Vitor Pereira sort of echoes what you were saying there, Stu, and saying, it's a strong team, technically strong, individual quality, did things well, and they were brave, but it's not the kind of game where you can show bravery like that. And making mistakes, you're going to concede goals against the Man City side, and that's huge, isn't it, Luke? We've got to be on our game, and that's not just on one or two players. That's on the whole 11. We've got to work as a team and a squad to kind of grind out these results, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. You make a mistake in the Premier League and you get punished. These teams punish you instantly. It's quite scary. But we sort of feel like we're in a situation at the moment that we are punishing teams if and when they make mistakes against us. And okay, we lost 4-0. The result isn't great, but it wasn't the worst performance, I didn't think, especially that first maybe 20, 30 minutes. I thought we gave it a bit of a decent go, and on another day we could have had a couple ourselves. And very frustrating being caught offside so many times in the first half, though. As Premier League professional footballers, was it about 4 offsides in the first half?
Yeah,
that's poor. That is really poor. But you're sort of watching the game and you're thinking, well, if we can get in at half time 0-0 here, we've got a chance in the second half. And then obviously we did a Wolves and fell apart. And I suppose that's something I want to raise on the podcast actually, because I've noticed that in 4 of our last 8 games, when we've conceded, we've then conceded again within 10 minutes. And that's a massive concern. That's a mentality issue, that is. In 50% of your last 8 games, you've conceded a goal, and then your reaction is to concede again. That's really worrying, that is.
It's like a hangover of the old teabag regime, because that's what was happening with him every week. Like, as soon as we conceded, you knew the game was over because we'd lose. And then Vito came in and sorted them out. And maybe that's what it needs. Maybe they need a good old-fashioned bollocking. And people like Agbadou need a shot in the arm. And maybe that's all it'll take to stop it, because it's going from a one-off and a repeat to a habit now, like you said. And like when you put that table up earlier, you think, you look at this is bad. This is very bad. And remember, though, we can't talk about different seasons overlapping each other, because that never works. But it's worrying. And it's definitely a mentality thing. And because the vast majority of the players are the same, especially in the spine of the side, it's something that needs nipping quickly.
Yeah. So who are our seniors? When I say senior, I mean like veteran seniors. Doherty. How old's Doherty now? 32.
He's not as old as you think.
I would have said 34, yeah. So maybe I'm the one who's rough.
But I feel like we're quite a young side, aren't we?
It's 33.
Okay, so we're not far off.
33. What's SAR? 30, 31?
So,
but yeah, the leadership group, you're talking who's in the leadership? Toti Gomez, he's about 26. Joao Gomez, 24-ish.
So 32.
They're not an old group. And Jose Sarr, he's probably not going to wear the armband this season, I wouldn't have thought, because you're looking at Matt Doherty, Joe Gomez and Toti Gomez ahead of him, because wearing it, it's not. They've never shown like some of these players. They've never shown the sort of leadership qualities and leadership abilities, other than maybe Joao Gomez. And I think the news with Toti Gomez getting that armband permanently now and being that captain, I think that has shook everyone, because I think it's a massive surprise, independent of whether he's worn it over the preseason or whether he's wearing it now. Is that nobody from the outside, or nobody was fans who are outside of the training ground, would have suspected that he has shown the leadership qualities on that pitch and on the training ground to warrant wearing an armband. And I where it's come from and how it's ended up there, I think is quite shocking.
I mean, no one thought of King Kilman either before he got it. And then he grew into that position and he led by example. And then you look at the drop-off after he left. Obviously, he's not worked at West Ham, looking at the reactions to some of his mistakes down there. But for us, as a captain, he was great. And yeah, he wasn't shouting man like Cody is, and he wasn't a leader by example like Neves, but he was a calming influence. And maybe that's what the point is. But like you said, maybe that goes against of everything that we've just said, that we need something else. Because who is the vocal people in that team? There isn't any.
Doherty, maybe. Could you imagine?
I know Sarr's a gobshite, and he loves absolutely screaming at people. But he's probably the only one. I mean, between him and JSL, I don't think anyone else has got massive bollocks in that team.
No.
And
you need a bastard like Lamina.
No,
never
you
again.
need a bastard, but you don't need Lamina.
Like Lamina.
Okay.
Before he went wrong
Apologies.
again.
Yeah. But it is surprising, and I think where we end up finishing this season is very much key down to the last 2 weeks in the window. I think depending on who we bring in and what we do to improve our situation within the squad is key to our season. And I really hope that we go into the next game with a little bit more confidence. I mean, it is Bournemouth. They're looking a little bit rough around the edges. Hopefully we can go and show some attacking intent. And I think let's show them, let's get these new lads in. Let's put a bit of creativity on the pitch and do something special. I think we might surprise ourselves and hopefully surprise the fans and give something to really scream about.
Well, you never know, do you? You never know what's going to happen. We're feeling like this now, and we could be fighting for Europe in 7 or 8 months' time and in a cup semi-final.
I really hope so, Luke, and that positivity will get us a long way, I think. And I think that buying into it, I think that's key. I think getting behind the side, let's see that. Put that energy that we put into the Jota tribute into this side now. We might do some magical things, and Vitor Pereira might get the Nuno feeling back in this club. And I really do, because when you dare to dream, anything's possible. That's a nice note to end on, actually. I think we'll sign off there.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. Let's get some more money in the coffers to do some magical things. Put some good donations out there, hopefully in the OGP. Remember, the link will be below on YouTube. Hopefully it'll be on where you listen to your podcast. If you do and you would like to donate to the OGP cause for the Jota tribute and doing all the other things that they do wonderful within the club, that link will be down below. There'll also be a link for Wolves Foundation. I know Dazzling Dave is doing his 7-a-side tournament at Compton this year again, and they're raising money for the Wolves Foundation, who do some fabulous, wonderful work in the community. So if you're able to and would like to, that link will be available as well. But and on a happy note, the Jota tribute was fantastic. Kieran, hold your head up high. You are an absolute diamond, this football club. Everyone on here I know appreciates and loves you. Everyone in the Wolves community loves you for everything that's been done. And thank you so much for honouring the beautiful and wonderful life of Diogo Jota. We will catch you next time, Wolves fans.